feeling much better than last week in quite a few different ways. I think I've turned a corner. Suffice to say, I've been a really busy bee on a very emotional, challenging journey of doing this and putting myself out there. Yeah, it's been quite vulnerable. Big lorry, sorry. I've got my Monday morning jobs to do. I haven't checked my emails yet because you never know what's going to be in there and how it's going to impact your day. So I like to feel kind of solid within before the outside influences take over, if you like. I don't want to get too much into my left hemisphere of my brain because I want to do a little bit more on the paintings as well. So I need to kind of balance myself a little bit. But you know, I have got admin, boring stuff to do too, even though I'd rather be doing that first. Anyway, let's have a coffee. Well, actually, I forgot. I didn't bring coffee. I brought bananas and blueberries and a kiwi and some green juice as well. So I haven't got coffee. I've had two little coffees already, so I'm not, you know, off the coffee. It gets to a point for me where it's just too much coffee. Self-parenting. I've made a list as well of my boring jobs because then I can tick them off and it's self-satisfying, and then I can do a bit of painting as my reward.
Yeah.
Scrap metal, cardboard. We got evidence of energy from waste. Green, treated wood. I was wondering whether to take the rings off, but then I thought,
Whoa. There's a fire, the burns brighter than the sun. I will run to the red tree when I come undone, where we are young. We burn brighter than the sun. When our day is over and our work down here is done, who's to know what's at the end of the rainbow? Oh, lemon drops with the same, even though we're lychee.
Just trying not to get my painting in the background because last video, it kept focusing on my painting's face instead of me, and I was going out of focus, and I'm really sorry. Is that better? I wonder. So I haven't done any painting today because I've been really busy doing something. It's really been a really difficult and emotional and bumpy and a bit of a roller coaster challenge of trying to object to some planning permission of something, also trying to gather people to object as well, so we've got enough objections if people don't know, because it doesn't seem to be that many people know about it. And I suppose I can explain a little bit about my objection. It's about a new mobile phone mast, and it's going to be, you know, really quite an intense one in my neighbourhood, and so I'm objecting to that under, you know, environmental, biodiversity, adverse health effects. Nobody's proven that it's actually safe to have that, you know, within residential areas. There's 2 nursery schools and a medical centre, an old people's home as well. So it's, you know, it's about the whole neighbourhood. And so I just wanted to, first of all, let people know that wanted to object, and also raise a little bit of awareness about it as well, because I've been reading all about the effect on birds, you know, bee populations, where, you know, beekeepers and wildlife experts have noticed 90% drops in their colonies. They've just been dropping dead, and also the bird population as well. So I just wanted to be a bit more protective of that, because as you know, I love nature and I love my trees and all that stuff. I also care about my fellow human beings. I've been head down doing this for about 5 days now, solidly putting together like a 6-page document to object to the council and sharing it on Facebook groups, which I don't really enjoy doing, but I thought it was worthwhile, and receiving some really positive connections and comments and advice and help and support, but also a barrage of ridicule, sarcasm, even abuse. I've reported a few comments, and someone messaged me and described it as a, what did they say, hungry pack of dogs. And that's kind of what it was, but it's worth it for the people that are going to make an objection to the council. And, you know, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I just care about the local community and the impact of this. I don't need everybody to agree with me. Indeed, you know, part of the joy of being human is to disagree and debate with each other and come from different viewpoints, and it keeps life, you know, really interesting. I don't expect everyone to be coming from my viewpoint. You know, even you guys, I'm sure, disagree with me plenty of times, and I don't mind that, and I don't think you mind that either, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here watching me now. We've got to allow, haven't we, to disagree. There's space for that, and it's completely allowed, and it's actually really healthy in a respectful manner. But anyway, I digress. Suffice to say, I've been a really busy bee on a very emotional, challenging journey of doing this and putting myself out there. Yeah, it's been quite vulnerable, a worthy cause and worthwhile, and I don't regret it or anything like that, but I have to admit I do feel a bit bumped and bruised about. You'll have to let me know if you can relate, but I haven't entered into any of the, you know, the old Facebook arguments and things like that. I've just ignored those kind of comments and reported a couple, and then the rest of the people that are interested in being informed of things perhaps they didn't know about before, or being open to things they didn't know about before, then obviously I've, you know, been conversing. And the thing that's just thrown me off now is that I've had this, first of all, a message from the local radio station who want to sort of highlight what I'm talking about, which is quite exciting in a way to sort of get the message out even wider. But also, the thing that's really thrown me off my feet is a message from a lady who I contacted about 3 years ago now, at the beginning of the first lockdown. In a nutshell, at that time, I had lost all my income. I was running an art class and had to close, and I was working part-time in a local shop and they had to close, so I lost all my income. And so I decided to set my art class up online via the Patreon website, and that's how it all began. As they say, the rest is history. I was seeking out some really special music to go with a series I was creating in there, in the art class, the Patreon, which was all about journaling, and it was called Heart Journals, and I did, I think, about 12 or 13 episodes in that. And so I was seeking some really special music, and so I reached out to somebody on Facebook who I absolutely love her music, and she replied and then didn't come back to me. She was really busy. Anyway, she's just come back to me literally now, and has sent me a song, has sent me the most beautiful message, which first of all made me cry the first time I heard it, and then I played her song and then I cried again. And it's just this beautiful serendipity that is going on, and it was most needed right now because, as I've explained, I feel a little bit bumped and bruised about from the other thing, so it was just even more welcome than it would have been, you know, under a normal day. But anyway, trying to pull myself together a bit so I can explain, but basically she watches my YouTube videos. She didn't realise that I had reached out to her all those years ago to say, could I please use some music for my art journals class on the Patreon? And so she's just realised today that it was me that reached out, and she said she's been following this lady on YouTube who's really inspired her, and she's had quite a journey herself of quite a bumpy time, which obviously I don't want to go into because that's her stuff. But the art journaling and painting and my videos have helped support her through that time, and so it was a really beautiful message which made me so happy and grateful to hear that feedback. It just encourages me more and more to do, you know, more sharing on here. Maybe this is a little bit vulnerable, but you know what, it's worth it. Even if it reaches out to, you know, 1 or 2 or a small handful of people who resonate and feel better, then to me it's worth it. Which is how I felt about the other thing as well, which the objections and the planning thing I'm trying to object to. But yeah, that's finished me off today. So I think what I'm going to do now, and I was planning on vlogging and I was planning on doing some painting, and I've literally been working on the next part of my process. We've got 1 day left to make objections to this council, and so I'm going to post some things through to my neighbours tonight. Easier than knocking on the door and chatting, and quicker as well, and also James is away, so I don't want to, you know, be doing that on my own because I don't know who's going to answer the door, etc. But if I just post these through, then anyone that still wants to make an objection can. So that's where all my energy's gone at the moment. Yeah. So I've been trying to research how to do it, you know, what's the best ways to go about the actual objections, and then researching stuff, informing people on the Facebook stuff. It's been all consuming for, you know, over my birthday weekend as well. I'm feeling a bit raw, if truth be known, but that's okay. And the other thing that's really interesting about this lovely lady contacting me in such a special way has been the serendipity of the whole thing. And so when these really magical coincidences and synchronicities and serendipities happen, it's absolutely wonderful. It's matching up exactly with the current art journaling prompt that I have in my Patreon, which is called the Serendipity Cycle. I've got all this to journal about and work through as well in my journal with my Patreons about the whole thing as well. It's a little bit bonkers how it all just matches up so well. And don't you think whenever these things happen, if you notice the coincidences or the synchronicities and serendipities, don't you just feel like you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing? And it's kind of like a message from the universe, from the world out there to say, yes, you know, you're doing the right thing. And I know what I'm doing, you know, when I'm putting, say, videos up or making art, you know, I very much come from the heart. It attracts certain people who also are very connected to their heart and their soul, their spirit and honourability and that kind of thing, and vulnerability as well. It really is that circle of love that I really enjoy. And so when you get these messages and these serendipities, life is very magical. One of the things I wrote in my art journaling prompt this month was about, you know, just as you're about to give up hope, that all hope is lost in a way, something happens that, you know, almost at the midnight hour. I've been talking about that as well, and so I was just feeling really, really low in here, and that happened, and it was just, anyway, I've got to go because I've got to go, you know, be post lady. So, into the shops again. some studio snacks, half healthy and half not. Really hot. Lentil hoops, sweet chilli flavour, so very spicy, very nice. And then, sorry, don't want to talk with my mouth full. Everyday essentials, wonky blueberries. So I've got 2 packs of those because they're tart and I like them tart. Anyway, blueberry, like a blueberry. Okay. And green juice, of course. Hang on a minute, my head's being chopped off. Is that any better? Might be a bit better. Yeah, it's really hard to concentrate on my painting this week because I've got this thing going on. There's loads of things that are interconnecting and interestingly teaching me a lot of lessons, taking me off my expected track for the last couple of weeks, and also given me a very bumpy birthday, which I did mention in one of my Facebook and Instagram posts. Here I am trying to paint and I am making some progress, just checking that the microphone's actually on because I don't want to record it all and then there'd be no sound for you. Blueberries. I guess to cut a long story short, the serendipity story short if you like, it all began with me moving near a mobile phone mast and suffering from 24/7 tinnitus, headaches, unexplained migraines. I've had a few in the past, but not as many. Nausea, vomiting, all sorts of weird symptoms, achy bones and joints. So none of that was happening before I moved to my current home near this mobile phone mast. Anyway, you know me, I'm always into well-being, self-care, taking care of ourselves, being proactive in health as much as possible. And I'm by no means perfect. So I'm not, preaching to anyone here. And also, I know a lot of people are not EMF, electromagnetic sensitive, and some people are. So I've learned quite a lot about that because I'm very sensitive to it, and I know quite a few people are actually. Anyway, I've been, educating myself, doing some research online, reading, like I think I mentioned The Invisible Rainbow maybe a couple of weeks ago, really good book about the history, really interesting as well, the history of electricity. Fascinating stuff. I've been trying to learn, how I can improve my health and environment and that sort of thing with the EMFs, both here and at home. And James is really interested in all that as well. You might remember I mentioned the Earthing movie on YouTube, which I left a link to in, I think, my last video. And that's also very interesting. And so what I did was I thought, well, I'll experiment with this. And seeing as I haven't got a garden, I ordered, James and I, one each, a small grounding mat that you can either, stand on, sit with your feet on, bare feet on, or, put it underneath your computer and rest. As long as you've got skin contact on it, it earths you. I thought, well, I'll experiment with a little one and see if it makes any difference. And immediately it did, really interestingly. My feet stopped tingling. They always have this buzzy, quite annoying buzzy tingle, which matching with the 24/7 tinnitus is not fun. That went almost immediately as soon as I started using this grounding mat. I think it was about £40, so it wasn't too expensive. Anyway, as the Earthing movie suggests, you can just bare feet on normal ground. As long as it's not concrete, as long as it's ground, you can earth quite easily. But I live in a flat upstairs, I don't have a garden, so I'm just making things as easy as possible to have a little experiment with, if you like. I also noticed, coincidentally or not, I'm not quite sure yet because I haven't been using it long enough, that I've had more energy since I've been earthing. So at night I put the little mat in my bed. You just plug it into the socket, you don't have to turn the socket on. I do keep turning the socket on and I know I don't need to. James is like, have you turned that on again? Anyway, have another blueberry. They're really good. So what do I get in the post a couple of weeks ago to challenge me even further in my current vicinity is a planning proposal from the council to say that somebody wants to not only replace the current mobile phone mast, but actually crank it up to a lot stronger, and for a couple of different networks as well. So it's going to be like doubled and then enhanced with all the extra bits and bobs, the 3Gs and 4Gs and even the 5Gs. So it's going to crank that up for me. So I'm thinking, right, I need to put my objections in to the council planning permission, and in order to do that I have to kind of back up my objections to the council, otherwise they probably don't pay any attention. I don't know. I've never done one before. It's been an interesting time, and that's kind of where I'm at. And it's taken me on a topsy-turvy, bumpy, challenging, interesting, lots of lessons learned. I've worked really, really hard and prepared a 5 or 6 page document to back everything up, and I've had some wonderful private messages on Facebook, for example, from people who have got tons of research, you know, basically do that for a living, and doctors and scientists and stuff have even been in touch with me, and even the local radio station now. So I'm completely out of my depth because I don't know anything about it and I'm no expert. So I'm just literally, disclaimer here, I'm not telling you that all this would work for you in the same way as it would for me. I don't know your personal circumstances. I don't know if you're electromagnetic frequency sensitive. And there's always more than 2 sides to each argument. So, you know, where I'm coming from isn't where everyone else is coming from. Some people are coming from completely different places. And, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, you know, on here or, you know, on my other online places. It's just what's going on for me right now. And so if I seem a bit all over the place, it's because I haven't slept much. I've been eat, breathe and living this in-depth stuff that isn't my thing. Yeah, countering it with the creativity is bringing me some balance. So that's good. So as I'm navigating this journey at the moment, very interesting time, with a lot of challenges. Let's just say that it's not always pleasant to interact with people online that don't agree with you and don't think it's okay not to disagree. I think that's my main challenge. I don't mind anyone, you know, disagreeing in my company or with me and my own beliefs and thoughts and things like that. You know, even the scientists are arguing about all this stuff, so it's really interesting. And of course, debate and arguing about it is really positive because it moves us forward into, you know, new learning and new things are realised, etc., and uncovered. So that's really good and really important. But I think sometimes the online, the misinformation thing, if you like, that's misinformation, that's disinformation. I think that pointy finger of that is very judgmental. And the thing I really don't like about it is it closes down the debate, which I think is really healthy. So yeah. And being an artist and thinking about, you know, tonal values within my paintings and my drawings and everything, it got me thinking this morning about grey areas. I always somehow manage to find the parallel universes between creativity and whatever is going on in my life. And I really like that about creativity because you can relate it to things. And so these grey areas, you know, you've got your darkest dark, so you've got your people who believe this, and then you've got your lightest light, so you've got the people that believe this. And they can argue until the cows come home, can't they? But it's when you start looking at the grey areas and the fact that there might be areas that are really close in, you know, the tonal values, you see what I'm saying? That's where we can find common ground. And that's where life gets really interesting. And so if people close down the debate and say, I'm here and you're wrong, and if that gets closed down, then there's no opportunity to actually investigate those grey areas where the common ground might be. Not always, but might. Let's see how this video unfolds and my serendipity flow unfolds as well, because there's so many things that are falling into place and it's really directing me, if you like, in different directions, you know. Anyway, I'm going to finish my snacks, not on camera because it'll make eating noises, which isn't always pleasant. And yeah, I'll see you later. Came in today to do something completely different and I've ended up doing a load of flower powers, and yeah, I think it's quite wet, but a few new ones on the go. So these are the flowers in the Moonlight series, the moonlit version with the dark backgrounds, and then my usual gold, and I've entwined some words in there as well, all about serendipity, a little poem I'm working on with one of my fairies. Anyway, more to come on that soon. I was going to work on my bigger painting, my lady, but the beauty of doing these at the side at the same time is it keeps me loose for my bigger work, and even that one is quite big as well in a way. It's really good art therapy because it's bright, juicy colours, it's fun, it's no pressure, and I really enjoy it. So my flower powers save me more times than I can even explain to you. So whilst I'm in the midst of my current chain of unfortunate events, shall we say, I can't offer any conclusions yet because it's going to take a little bit of time to, as my mum would say, come out in the wash. I guess depending on what does happen further on down the line, I may need to move a little bit more promptly than originally expected and planned. But there you go, that's life, isn't it? So I guess suffice to say, I've seen Wendy the Warrior in the last few weeks. Resilience, self-reliance, definitely. These things are sent to test and try us, aren't they? But in the end, it strengthens our faith because we can see when life's inevitable bumps do show up. We do dive deep, don't we? And often we find parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed or even still existed. Thanks as always for keeping me company here in this little corner of YouTube. Try to keep your lights shining bright and I will see you really soon in the next one. Bye for now. Mwah.